The voice,
the heart,
the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Sports Extra on a Tuesday, keeping you informed.
We have 10 teams this season. Nice.
Sports Extra Cayman Islands.
A young team full of talent, full of desire to do good things.
We've had some success with the outdoor league being restarted.
Good evening. This is Sports Extra, and I'm your host, Dion Anglin. Sports Extra is about giving you the latest information on sporting activities in the Cayman Islands. We're here to promote and uplift every single sport on island. So the show airs every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman. Tonight, however, we will be chatting with the Senior Administrative Officer for the Cayman Islands Olympic Committee, Shakina Bush. She was also the chef de mission for the first Caribbean Games, which was held in Guadeloupe last week. Shakina, hello, and welcome.
Thank you.
And along with her is the inaugural Caribbean Games long jump silver medalist. Yes, I like the title. Don't you like the title?
Yes, ma'am.
Louis Gordon. All right, we'll be back with these two. We're going to hear so much about the Caribbean Games, their experience. It's the inaugural event, so that means it was the first ever. So we're going to hear especially from Louis, who's going to tell us about his experience. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Whether you're fishing, beaching, gardening, or questioning whether to wash your car, Radio Cayman keeps you informed with the latest weather developments. Radio Cayman's weekend weather, morning, day, and night, every Saturday and Sunday. Radio Cayman's weekend weather is proudly brought to you by Mosquito Solutions. Mosquito Solutions. Call 548-0720 for your free residential or commercial quote. Mosquito Solutions. Pest control under control. Call 548-0720.
Ray, are we ready for the next you are saying?
Yep, this time the topic is Dappies.
Dappies.
That's ghost to you tourists.
What's your dappies?
I never believed them, but I have a Dappy story. So if you tune in, you can hear my story and you can call in and tell me your Dappy stories, because we know there's people out there that got Dappy stories that afraid to talk about it. So call in and tell us your Dappy story.
Dappies on the next you are saying?
Next you are saying. Boy, stop touching me. I'm real. I just clear skin like this. I know I need to get some sun.
You look like a dappy. So, Friday the 15th.
Friday the 15th. Join us for Siwa Saying Dappies.
Siwa Saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
All right, welcome back to Radio Cayman Sports Extra. Dion Anglin here in the studio with the Senior Administration Officer for the Cayman Islands Olympic Committee, Shakina Bush. And what's that title again? You remember your title?
Me, athlete.
The Caribbean Games long jump silver medalist. Yeah. All right, you don't forget it. It's the first games ever. Yeah. So Cayman earned 4 medals at the under-23 Caribbean Games in Guadeloupe last week, 2 gold, 2 silver, and Louis, who's in the studio with us, is among that group. 11 of Cayman's athletes competed at the first ever Caribbean Games that was held June 29th through July 3rd. So for Cayman, in athletics, Rasheem Brown won gold in the men's 110-meter hurdles. Louis Gordon, who we have with us, earned silver in the men's long jump. In swimming, the mixed 4x100 free relay team of Kira Rabes, Allison Jackson, Corey Frederick Westerborg, and James Allison won gold. And Kira earned her silver in the 800-meter women's freestyle. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome. What were your thoughts on that, Shakina, as we brought home 4 medals from these games for the first time ever?
I mean, I guess anyone getting the opportunity to be a part of anything inaugural is always fantastic.
Yes.
You know, there's only ever the first, the first participants of something. So that in and of itself was amazing for us to be a part of. The Cayman Islands was there.
Yes.
We made our mark. We definitely made our mark with the medals for sure. But I think our presence was felt across the board. I had the opportunity, the privilege to be able to see all the sports.
Yes, and you were the
that
chef de mission.
Yes,
I didn't
was,
mention that, but Shakina was also the chef de mission for the Caribbean Games.
Yeah, so being able to watch all the sports, watch all of our athletes compete at their best against our region. Like sometimes we fail to realize that some of the best competition in this world exists right here in the Caribbean.
Here in the Caribbean.
And it was just wonderful to see our athletes keeping up there with the tops, you know, and bringing home medals was phenomenal, you know, getting to be a part of it. You know, I laugh so much about the young men at track and field because as they finished, I ran off to where the collection area was, and they came out and I had the flag, and it was just this cool moment.
Right.
And it's definitely something that it will live with me forever.
Yes.
Louis is quite the character here.
Yeah.
But it was definitely an awesome experience, you know, to see their personalities, just to see them happy doing what they love most, you know. And that's every single athlete. It was just phenomenal.
What was you went as chef de mission, so what were your responsibilities there?
So
the responsibilities of the chef de mission. Let's hear if she did her job.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We knew that.
So as chef, you're the head of the delegation.
Yes.
It has a lot to do with being responsible for how your team moves when it moves. What happens if a problem arises by one of the coaches or the managers. If there's anything that changes on the game sheet, the timing, whatever. So we get up in the morning, and at 6 a.m. you have a meeting for 2 hours. Any problems, we problem solve at that point in time. You know, we get to advocate. So if the AC isn't cooling, for instance, in one of the rooms, I get to go and
it's almost like a manager.
It definitely is a managerial
position,
post. And in many instances, you know, it spent many nights back and forth with the games committee.
And
ensuring everything was all right.
And corresponding with me as well.
Yeah,
she was the one giving me all my updates, and I was nagging her throughout the entire games. Thank you so much for that.
No, anytime. We appreciate that you know, keep on top of the sporting world and what you do for the CIOC and our athletes here.
Thank you.
But yeah, so many nights it was really funny because I would look back and I'd see the athletes all standing up, especially my track and field boys, standing up. Miss Shakina, why are you outside? It says 11 o'clock. Well, I'm trying to get a bar of signal so that I can make a phone call home to get some stuff sorted. It's logistics. It's like, are you all going to go to bed? Their coaches trying to get them back into rooms. Nope, we're standing out here until you get inside. So it was nice. It was this awesome feeling. And as soon as you get one group of athletes, and then out come the cyclists. Miss Shakina, why are you outside? It's again, same story again. Then they go in swimming upstairs and they look no back. Why are you outside? We could hear you. I was like, you know, but
go to bed.
It was just so awesome. Everybody looked out for each other, and that in and of itself, it just speaks to who we are, you know. And for many instances, you know, some of the athletes didn't know each other per se, and all of a sudden here they are in one housing block, and they're all playing dominoes together in their free time, and their downtime is there. They're all studying together. They're helping each other with homework. You know, they're out there having these cool conversations about their sport. It was so awesome to see cycling doing their thing with the bikes. You know, they're ensuring it's fine-tuned, and they're taking apart the chains and those things.
What was protocol like with COVID protocols like there in Guadeloupe?
They, just like us in Cayman, have just removed the mask mandate. But once again, we, at the end of the day, athlete safety is something that the CIOC places a heavy emphasis on. And we still did require a lot of masks to be worn where we went. But obviously because there's large numbers of people in places. It was slightly different. Everyone still, especially coming from Cayman where we had those mandates on, is taking a while for us to not be so fearful.
Theirs were lifted before you all got there?
Yes, theirs was lifted. Actually, a few weeks before ours. So, yeah. But all in all, it seemed to be a very safe return and a safe handout of the games. They had COVID centers in place that you do your testing, and if anyone showed up positive, it was, you know, isolation hall and those type of things. So I think that's right now, with the way the world is going with COVID, those are almost the norm of protocols now in terms of when you travel for sporting events.
Awesome. Let's get to Louis. Louis, tell us about your experience. What was your experience like at these games?
My experience was good. I met a lot of new people. I learned a lot of new stuff
from swimming and cycling, right?
Especially like cycling. I met not two because I already knew Victor, but I met a next young man who He blew my mind. He was Nathaniel.
And you mean in his sport?
Yeah, in his sport.
Swimming, he did well.
He did cycling.
Nathaniel Forbes.
Yeah,
okay,
Forbes,
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He did cycling, but yeah, my experience in Guadeloupe, it was great. The food, iffy, but our chef made sure we had KFC all the time.
What?
All the time. I got you all KFC when you all won.
That too.
Yes, say that. It's very important. KFC is not healthy.
I mean, not all the time, but whenever we won, especially when we won.
Yeah.
Right? But she also made sure that we were also very, very up to date with everything and well taken care of. She went out her way. She got us extra food, cereal, stuff like that.
You mentioned food like 3 times now.
Yes. Athletes tend to love their stomachs.
He's an eater.
Yeah, I couldn't really keep much in my fridge. I enjoyed the sugar cane there. But I would go to bed and there'd be, a bag or 2 of sugar cane in the fridge, and then wake up and there wouldn't be any sugar cane in the fridge.
No.
And I knew Louis had hit. So those are just some of the things. But
she really made sure that we were all right, and just like I met a whole bunch of other athletes as well too, and the environment overall was great, honestly.
Were you and Rashim the only 2 track athletes? Athletics?
Yeah. We had one more who Leroy. He did shot put, I believe. Yeah, he did shot put.
All right.
But me and Rashim were very familiar with each other. We were sharing rooms actually, so we were there.
Okay. I didn't know of Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy Malcolm. Yeah.
Malcolm. Okay, sounds good. What was the most interesting thing about this tournament for you?
The most interesting thing was, honestly, just the amount of sports over there.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had 3-on-3 basketball.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. They had judo too.
Judo, futsal.
And open water swimming. I didn't even know that was a thing. Honestly, I didn't even know you could swim in the water openly and compete.
In the sea.
And compete. So, just the amount of sports that were there and the amount of people that were there, especially for it being the first time.
Yes,
it was very well organized. They went out of their way to make sure that they made a bang with the competition.
So it was under 23.
Yeah, it was.
What was the level of competition like? Either of you or both of you can answer. What was the level of competition like? Was it Carifta like, or was it a little higher?
To me, it wasn't. I mean, it was a good competition because I saw a lot of with me going to school in the States. I saw a lot of people who compete with me in the NCAAs.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think there was more than 50% Division 1 athletes that were there that come out of the Caribbean. And those athletes, Division 1 or Division 2 actually, were represented. And I mean, it was being to an athlete myself as well as being to other games. I was able to actually see that there was quite a high level of competition there.
Nice.
It definitely kept the athletes in check in regards to how much focus they had to go in there with. It wasn't something that they played around with. But I'll be completely honest, the competition level shocked a lot of people that it was that high. But it also woke us up to realize that, hey, we can hold our own with the big guys,
Of course.
And it's definitely something that I think all the coaches came back and said, wow, we were going to prepare for the next one. It's in 3 years. It's being held every 4 years.
Okay.
So with it being postponed last year and being held this year, I think that it's a great target for the next 3 years for coaches to come back and look at. And when you look at the sports that are involved, due to some issues in Guadeloupe, they knocked the track cycling down and that venue was cancelled. So that came out of the event loop. But once again, it's still so much that we can do. And there's so many more sports that can be added. They're looking at sailing to add it.
Okay.
So it's a great opportunity for them to actually get out there and compete at a high level.
That was going to be my next question. Are they going to add any more sports?
Yeah. So
to those games.
Yeah, they're definitely looking at it.
7 so far.
It's 7 so far. They're definitely looking at it to try to get closer to 10.
Okay.
But it'll be interesting because both Aruba and the Dominican Republic have placed their bid to be the next host.
Okay.
So it'll be cool to see where it ends up, and who'll get that opportunity to be the next host of these games. But definitely what they'll look at is how many venues, what they can get for those athletes to be out there and participate.
You mentioned school. You saw some of your fellow opponents. So what school do you attend?
I go to school in New York, in Albany. I go to University of Albany, actually, in New York, Albany.
How you find it there?
Between New York, where I stay right now, Albany, and Cayman, is very similar because like Albany isn't big; it's small and small community, not much people, and it's just I could compare it. It's very familiar to home, so I love it there. I had chances to go other places, but chose to stay right there just because it reminds me.
And how are you finding balancing academics along? It's always a very difficult thing for an athlete, balancing both books and the sport.
I promise you, in my 21 years of living, that at doing it at the university level, especially with the schedule that I have,
right,
as a D1 athlete, it's very hard. Like, people don't understand what it's like for a student athlete.
Tell us.
Waking up at 6:30 in the morning to go to weight room. Then after weight room, you're tired. You just did a hard workout. You got 4 classes, right? And then from 4 classes, you got practice again, 4:30. And next week, the week after that, you have exams that you got to stay up and study for until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Try to get rest, and you got to keep doing that over and over and over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it builds character, honestly. It builds character. It makes you appreciate the free time that you get, stuff like that. So, as a D1 athlete and as a student, it's hard. Honestly, it's hard, but
I'm sure
you got goals and you got stuff that you need to get done. So you can't give up. You can't just say, look, I'm gonna stop or whatever. Now you got to keep going.
What are some of your goals?
Right now, I want to finish school. That's the first thing. My main priority is to finish school.
What are I'm interrupting you. I'm very sorry,
No,
but
okay.
What are you studying?
I'm an economic major.
Okay, so go back to what are your goals?
My goals right now just to finish school. That's one. Finish school. I want to be able to stay healthy too, so I could continue to train. Continue to go to these games, experience more, in a more professional, mannerism, and be able to come back home eventually when I'm done to start to live life, work. Give back in any way that I can with with children, because I go to the track all the time and I see myself, like I see me running up and down when I was small, jumping, trying, but there's like they need guidance, they need people to help. So that's my goal right now. I want to first finish school, see if I could become a professional athlete, and when I do make it, because that's, like I said, my goal, come back home and give back, do what I can to help people who are in my situation right now.
The track athletics is based off of 2 different disciplines in track and field. You chose field events. What made you gravitate to field?
I didn't. It was honestly just happened on an accident. This happened by accident.
Really?
Yeah, I was in PE class one day, and I used to play football. That's where I used to love football. Like,
okay. So you must have enjoyed the futsal.
Yeah,
in
Guadeloupe. I didn't really get. I was so busy and concentrated on doing what I have to do. I didn't even get to
look at
experience it.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest, but
fair enough.
I used to play football, and that's where I was. And one day we had a PE class, and I saw them doing long jump. That's what I started out doing, long jump.
Okay.
And I had a friend who was in the line, and I skipped him, and I just ran and jumped. And I just beat everyone. I just beat everyone. Yeah. And from that day, my love in track and field just took off. Eventually, I went to play goalkeeper. That's where I used to play first. And I realized I could jump high.
Right.
Then I went to high jump.
Right.
And then took off from there too. So it's just like a whole bunch of sports. I used to do everything, honestly. I played cricket, basketball. I did everything. My dad, he used to play cricket for the Cayman Islands, so he was a very sportsy guy.
Who's your dad?
Steve Gordon, the one and only.
Yes. Okay.
So
yeah, I'm like, yeah.
So yeah, it just took off from there. So
okay, and how long have you been playing?
I've been doing track for close to since high school, which was probably 10 plus years. Honestly,
nice.
10 plus years.
What keeps you motivated?
My dad.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, he made sure, because I have a sister who goes to school in England as well.
Okay. She's older than you?
No, she's younger than me.
Okay.
But she's in university as well. And he just did so much to make sure that we were where we are right now.
Okay.
So my biggest motivations is my family, stuff like that, and people who I love, people around me.
Okay, that's very nice. Do you think field events get the respect it deserves?
Honestly, no. I don't know about any other people, but I feel like people who do field events don't get the utmost respect that they are supposed to be getting. Because just like you have your Shelly-Ann, you also have your Pichardos, and you have your Echevarries, and you have your...
Some of them I have not heard of, and
Exactly.
that's because of the lack of respect for the field
people
events.
don't give these... You have your Tajay Gales who go to World Olympics and win and stuff like that, who come from our sister island, our brother islands, Jamaica, stuff like that, who we don't know about because they don't run 9, or they don't run 20 point, or they don't run 43. So
I was going to say, why do you think, or Shekina, you can answer too, why do you think field events don't get as much respect as track?
I think with the field events that they take a little longer.
Yeah.
We're now in the era of everything's fast, right?
Yes.
Fast paced. We like the fast sports. We like the fast cars. We like the fast food. I mean, I was asking some of the athletes, how many of them cook rice. And I was like, why would you cook rice? You got a minute rice, you pop it in the microwave for a minute, tear the bag an inch. And I was like, what? So it's always kind of interesting to analyze what societal norms are against what we find exciting in sports.
Yeah.
And think about it, the new thing is the quick cricket.
Yeah.
The 2020 cricket. I used to tell my brother, who's huge in cricket, I mean, he absolutely loves cricket, right? I love him to death. He would come to every one of my football games, every one of my shooting meets, and he would sit there and it'd be fine. So being a good big sister, I would go and watch his 5-day cricket, and I would honestly prefer to watch paint dry in many instances.
Yeah.
But it was just too slow. Mind you, granted, I absolutely love cricket. Nothing against it, but it was just taking too long, and we lost a lot of the younger generation
because of the 50 overs.
Because of the long time it took to complete the game. And I think that reflects with the track versus the field events, where you get that extremely fast 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter, and then all of a sudden you don't know the 800 meter runners' names anymore because it takes a little bit longer.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I also find that field events are hidden.
Yes, they are.
The track, the runners.
The cameras are all on the outside.
The cameras
there,
are all on the outside.
and everything's on the inside.
You really don't know what's going on the inside unless you cross that track to get there. And I think that's one of the main reasons why it's not getting the attention it truly does deserve. Yeah, I really do. What club do you belong to here, or did you?
I belong to Trinity. That was I don't think anyone really knows about Trinity because I wasn't.
I've heard about it before, but it's
Trinity
so many
track
of
and
them.
field.
Who's the coach for Trinity? Or technical director for Trinity?
It was. I prefer not to say because of the type of stuff that It was just some. Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, Trinity track. I belong to Trinity track.
Gotcha.
Track and field.
Oh, okay. All right. So what we'll do right now, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to tackle Shekina. I gave you enough time. All right, you can get your rest. We'll tackle Shekina. We'll be right back with more Sports Extra in a minute.
Radio Cayman News.
Lawmakers pass a private member's motion designed to provide increased assistance to Caymanian land and home buyers.
Cayman is facing a cost of living crisis. Prices are going up on just about everything we buy.
Since taking office, we have assisted 246 families, and stamp duty already been waived.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
Welcome back to Radio Cayman Sports Extra. If you're just tuning in, we're chatting with the senior admin officer for the Cayman Islands Olympic, Louis Gordon, in the studio with us, and we're talking about the Caribbean Games, and we're also touching on Louis' career and what he's achieved and the fact that he's off in school and his goals and, you know, what motivates him, what inspires him and whatnot. But we're going to switch gears now to Shekinah to tell us a little bit about the Caribbean Games. I spoke with you a couple of days ago, and you mentioned that CANOC, who's in charge of the Caribbean Games, are they? Right. They've been trying to get these games going for a very long time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, expound on that for me.
All right, so for those who don't know, CANOC is the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees. And this committee was actually formed in 2002. They came together and they had this huge dream for the Caribbean Games. Nice. And it's definitely a beautiful dream now that we've experienced it. But their first attempt was 2009. It was unsuccessful, actually, because Trinidad got the host to be the first. But swine flu came down. And it got cancelled. It just was blown out of the water. I mean, the Caribbean countries went as far as ordering uniforms, pins. Yeah. There was a lot of money invested in it.
What year you said this was?
This was 2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Wow, so far back.
So far back. So this has been something that's been in the works, and I mean, it's to see the amount of work that goes into it for them to be able to pull this off. Being able to be in the office and sit in with the president and the general secretary who sit on these meetings, you know, Mr. Carson, Ebanks, and Miss Laurie Powell,
right? To
constantly get my head wrapped around what it took for these things to actually start to kick off. Right. It was definitely something that spurred a lot of my interest in terms of the history of these games. It kind of fell out in that time frame, and about 3 or 4 years ago Guadeloupe joined CANOC.
Okay.
And they threw their bid in, and it was successful. So it was supposed to happen last year, but COVID didn't hit. So it seems to be one thing after the next when it came to these games, but they didn't give up.
Right.
And when the funding kind of fell out, the CANOC body came together and pledged a certain amount of money, and they made this thing happen. And it was beautiful.
Yeah. You mentioned all these different countries. Have we thrown the bid in to host at any point in time?
I think infrastructure-wise, we still have a few things that we need to work on.
Based on the 7 sports that's playing?
Yes. When you look at the pool, we definitely need a larger pool.
Okay.
A 15-meter pool.
Which is in the works.
It's in the works.
Hopefully.
And those type of modifications to our system would definitely help us.
Yeah.
I think it would be great to advertise sports tourism through a games like this being held in Cayman. And the size of it is actually pretty realistic for us to host.
I agree.
You know, to say we're going to hold the Olympics here is something completely different. But one of the beautiful things is that open water swimming, so many people wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, what better place? You
exactly.
know, I looked at Jasmine Lambert, who was our open water swimmer, and Kyra Robess, and we kind of looked back and we were like, wow, I was impressed. And I'm somebody that grew up in the water.
Right.
And I was like super impressed because you see them out there and the current that they were fighting on their laps coming in back to the finish line, it was almost as if they weren't moving. It was just such a strong current. And I think about it, you know, afterwards I spoke to Jasmine, and she was like, we're so used to it in Cayman. She said, it's all we do. We all start in the water. And I think that would give Cayman such a big boost.
Right.
But it's definitely something that's getting highlighted. We have the Caribbean Beach Games coming up, God's willing, in November. And open water swimming is definitely one of the big things that they're going to push for. So it would be phenomenal to see our open water swimmers out there. So much focus gets placed, track and field. You know, the same idea of the pool, being in the pool, that focus gets placed there. But a lot of our athletes that are in the pool started in open water swimming.
Yes, a lot.
So, it'll just be a matter of time. And I think once our infrastructure starts to get more developed and we have those venues in place, then it'll be great.
Awesome. What are the objectives for the Caribbean Games? I know we spoke about this a little bit off the mic prior to the show starting, but what is it leading up to? I know is it a lead up to the Olympic Games? Is it a lead up to Pan Am Games? What is the objective of
everything is a lead up to the Olympics.
Right.
that's
I know Island Games isn't a lead up to anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That one.
Yeah, we spoke about that too. So I was just wondering if it's one of those.
Yeah, so this is definitely lead up to the ultimate goal, Paris 2024, and everything in between.
Right.
We have Commonwealth Games at the end of this month.
Okay.
We have a team of 21, a delegation of about 30, 35 going up there.
Okay.
That'll be phenomenal.
It will.
It's always a great games for our athletes. Louis will be a part of it. So it'd be wonderful to see our athletes up there. Then obviously we have the Caribbean Beach Games, much smaller, something that's new again, being introduced to our region. That'll be in November. And then next year we have Pan Ams. You know, we have some huge games coming up next year, and that's definitely something we're working towards. But those are going to be the thing to keep your eye on.
Right.
I think we have great athletes going to those games, and we're seeing them now. These games woke a lot of people up. The first thing Louis said coming off the track, the first thing Rashim said, you know, coming off the track, were, I know exactly where I need to go now. It almost sparked a light in them, and it was phenomenal to see it. And I get goosebumps talking about it, right? But just seeing that spark, the swimmers came out and they're going, they were really close to us. We need to get this tightened up.
Right.
You know, Kira came out and she goes, I'm going to jump in a few more events. And I'm thinking, wow, this simple games that everyone thought was, it's just going to be, a thing.
Yeah.
It as simple as it may have seemed, it had a huge impact on the way they looked at sports. People fail to realize we're coming out of a pandemic where we were all locked in, locked down, and there was literally no training happening at some point in time.
Right, exactly.
And that takes a toll on people that have a routine, and any athlete that has a routine where you're training, you're going to school, or you
especially individual sports.
Yeah, individual sports, that definitely. And when you're told now you can only go certain days to the track, or you can't go any at all. You imagine what the boxers went through. They weren't allowed.
Yeah.
You know,
it was really
indoors.
rough for them.
So there's so many different things when you see those components be taken away from an athlete, people with huge sporting aspirations.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you know, you're asking them to get back in the routine. It's hard. It's really hard. But it's games like these that bring back that punch.
Exactly. Louis, what was that experience like for you during COVID, not being locked down and not being able to follow through with your routine?
Especially at school, during the COVID, the whole pandemic, like really in the depth of it, I was not allowed. Like, I lost so much college eligibility. Not lose, but I just lost like the ability to compete. Even though I was given back the years in eligibility, during that time, I had just broken the school freshman record for high jump. I was going, I was my freshman year. I was going really good. I was fresh out of, because I used to go to school in Jamaica as well. And I was fresh out of Jamaica. I was, I started to be in college, and I started going really good. And then we got hit with the pandemic. Like, that just tore my seasons apart, because I came home. Even though it did that to my season, I was still able to come home and have a whole year with my family. Right. So even though it was bad for many of the student athletes and stuff like that, it still gave me the chance to experience other stuff too.
Has its advantages and its disadvantages.
It had advantages just like how it had disadvantages.
Yes.
I came back home and I got to experience working. Like, normally, because I'm so busy with training and stuff like that, I don't get to do the ordinary stuff that, other people get to do.
Okay.
Summer jobs.
Yeah, summer jobs, stuff like that.
And as a field athlete, high jump, long jump, what's your workout like? Your workout regimen is like?
A lot of, jumping, bounding, plyometrics, and even though I'm so small, weightlifting as well. Like, that's important key stuff to my, events. I gotta be able to.
You're not small. How tall are you?
I am, I think, like 6 foot flat.
Okay.
I'm not giant, but I could I could still do my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, weightlifting, stuff like that, and running, of course. Like, every athlete has to run.
Yes.
Like, every athlete has to run, especially if you're doing track and field. It's track and field for a reason. That's why they don't have track and they don't have separate field.
Yeah.
Like, it's
are there field tournaments?
No.
No, not at all.
I
So,
mean,
just like you said,
they have field meets. But they don't have tournaments. Not that I know of. Okay. The majority of track and field meets they consist of both track and field every time.
And about your actual event where you won the silver medal, can you walk us through that event? What happened and why didn't you get the gold?
Because I didn't. I was at my own fault for not getting the gold. I got home and there was just like, reality hit me. I'm still human. I still go through normal stuff that people go through.
Of course.
So reality hit me. I'm taking a summer class now that I had to pay for. So of course I had to go work like any mature adult would do. I had to go work to be able to pay for this class. So during that time, I wasn't really training as much. And hearing that I got selected for the games, I quickly tried to do something before the games. So if I was still in like how I was in season, where I jumped my PB of 7 meters 75.
That would have gotten him a gold.
Like I would have got the goal, and the record would have been, like the record would have been terrible right now. But I just didn't prepare well enough, which is why preparation is a key factor. Like you can have all the talent in the world, and you can have all the talent in the world, but unless you put some kind of preparation behind that,
of course,
it's not gonna it's not gonna take you very far.
That's true.
It was cool to see though, because he made his first jump and it was bang on. I mean, perfect form. His coach got down there. He was like, "Great, Louis. Keep it up." And it was just awesome to hear discussion through the fence.
Yep.
And he started to make a correction because he hit the board. He was still probably about 3 inches.
Yeah, I was way off the board.
He was still about 3 inches off the back of the hit mark of his board. Sorry. Okay. So his coach definitely made the adjustments, and he came back and bam, hit it again. Yeah.
Don't forget Coach
Carl Morgan. Carl Morgan was the coach. And it was phenomenal. Him and Louis just kept back and forth with each other.
Right.
And he made the adjustments, and he was there with him, and Louis kept coming in to check, and I was like, just amazed by it, right? The physics, the technical aspects of it, the fine tweaks.
Yes.
And I saw it in every single sport. You can imagine what it's like in cycling.
Yeah.
Because they pull apart everything, but how do you pull apart an athlete that's running down a track to hit a board to get into the sand pit, right? And the same thing with swimming. How do you make those fine-tune changes, kind of midway? But all the coaches just had this phenomenal thing about communications with their athletes and being there with their athletes, watching them be at, multiple areas all in the same split second. The hand signals, the codes, the eye contact. It was just awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was just good to see those small changes that made a world of a difference. And watching the coaches ensure that their mental health at that point in time was there. To me, that was key. Because I think right now so many of our athletes struggle with mental health, and that ability to be able to stay extremely focused when the pressure's on at its highest. And it was just awesome to see how much those 4 coaches, because we had Ken Gokul and Daniel Cummings from cycling. We had Carl Morgan from athletics, and then we had Jackie Pellerin from swimming.
Right.
And just to see those coaches, how much they place that extra emphasis on the headspace of the athletes just before they got into their event. The headspace of their athletes as soon as the event was over. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
Phenomenal.
That's phenomenal. You're absolutely right. You mentioned selection process. You mentioned that you got the call that you were selected, and I wanted to ask, what is the selection process like for these games?
So, athletics had a much smaller window because they had an age restriction as well.
Okay.
Swimming is a bit more wider in the age allowance, but there were qualifiers for these games. So it was hard for us because of COVID to do a lot of these qualifiers.
Yeah.
I know there were other sports that we could have possibly partook in, but once again they would have had to have done the qualifiers, netball, the 3v3 basketball, the futsal. So working our way up to the next games, we now know that in a few months they'll put out the new qualifying expectations, the marks, and we have to start to make sure the federations meet those.
Out of curiosity, what is the expectation or the qualifier for netball?
To be completely honest, I'm not exactly sure on it.
Okay, I was wondering what that would be.
But I know that they had to have done at least two
tournaments.
Two tournaments, participate in 2 tournaments. And what they did, they wanted to have a maximum number so that the restrictions on it weren't that tight. So it's quite possible for us to get there.
Okay.
It's something that's realistic for us, but we have to start to ensure that federations get out there to these games. We have to start to dig a little further. And I know that's definitely something that the CIOC is going to start to push more after seeing the results from these games and seeing what we can actually accomplish.
Right.
We can medal.
Yes.
It is so evident that we can medal in so many areas, and we're going to be pushing to account for definitely allowances and more athletes, because in many instances they'll say if it's a one-person sport, you're allowed a maximum of 5. So send your best 5, or send your best 4, send your best 3. With the team sports, we can definitely get our teams in there and be just as competitive as anyone else.
In terms of population, were we one of the smallest countries there, or if not the?
Actually, we had team size. There were countries where they only sent one athlete. So we were somewhere in the upper middle part of the pack when it came to team size, and I was really happy. Yeah. It was cool that when we actually had our flag flying, we could see our numbers behind it. Yeah. I mean, I got lost in the crowd a few times because, you know, Louis said he's only 6 foot tall, but here I am 5'5", right? But it was nice. It was a decent team size.
I know we spoke about the results that turned out from this tournament proves the importance of these types of developmental events that, you know, for the under-23 athletes themselves. Those were your words. Apart from Carifta and now, of course, the Caribbean Games, are there any other games for the athletes in the Caribbean?
There's tons of games, obviously, out there. They're multi-sport. They all have their individual sporting games that they can go to. But obviously, the multi-sport games are the ones that pack the punch. They're the ones that gain the country the most funding. It is a non-profit organization, so we're constantly seeking those grants. And when our athletes perform at a high level at these multi-sport games, it gives their federations more access to more funding.
Right.
So it's definitely something that needs to be more clearly outlined to federations that, hey, the more you participate, the more you send the best of, the more that is out there for you to grab a hold of.
Right.
And we have the Olympics, we have the Junior Olympics, we have Pan Ams, we have Junior Pan Ams, we have CAC Juniors. There's, a plethora of games out there that are coming up. Obviously, they kind of fell off the wagon with COVID.
Yes.
And people had to cancel. It's just a matter of safety, health, you know. At the end of the day, if our athletes aren't healthy, our athletes can't perform.
Right.
So it makes no sense. But the games are coming up. And they're starting to get their heads wrapped around how to keep, you know, everyone safe, whether you're a spectator or an athlete. And they're happening. I mean, Commonwealth is right here around the corner.
Yeah. Speaking of Commonwealth, you'll be taking part in that as well.
Yes, ma'am. Doing a long jump again.
Long jump. Was that the only event you took part in?
Yeah.
At the Caribbean Games?
Yeah, that's the only one.
I specializes now in long jump.
Okay. So that's all you'll be doing come Commonwealth. When is Commonwealth?
Commonwealth is the 20. I believe we leave the 24th of this month
until the 7th.
But I think the games start on the 28th. Yeah, to be precise.
What's preparation been like for you for that?
Since I've been back, I've been training. Like I don't like to lose. Like, and
he's driven.
Yeah, I don't like to lose at all, and you know, I know what I'm capable of.
Okay.
All honesty, I know what I'm capable of, and if I'm able to have the time to prepare, like I do now, like I mean, it might not be a lot of time, but it's still time. Okay. It's better than nothing. Right. So preparation has been all right. I've been training in the morning, you know, taking care of my body, stuff like that. It looks good so far.
Okay, and what's next for you in your career?
In my career, next is I just gotta be able to secure sponsorships, you know, stuff like that to continue driving me. You know, it's not free. You can't.
And it's not easy.
And it's not easy.
It's very expensive.
You gotta be able to fund your coaches, physiotherapy, and food stuff like, you know, you gotta be able to.
He eats a lot.
Yeah, I gotta eat
a lot.
Food quite a bit, yeah. You wouldn't look at his size and see that, but you know, he eats.
I can tell.
I gotta be able to secure sponsorships and stuff like that. You know, have people see me and understand that, you know, I gotta make it. So right now, like I said before, I gotta finish school in case, but you know, in case stuff doesn't go, gotta make sure I have my degree and stuff like that.
Awesome. I like that. Got your head on your shoulders.
Yeah,
that's very important. I'm wishing you all the best in the future, all the best of the Commonwealth Games, and congratulations again on your silver medal.
Thank you.
Very proud of you guys. Shakina, I almost said coach. Shakina, is there anything else that you would like to make mention of before you guys head out?
I just would like to say a huge thank you to the athletes from the CIOC for everything that they've committed and dedicated to make these games possible. We couldn't have been present without you. I think I speak on behalf of both the president, the general secretary, and the rest of the board, and how proud we all are of their results, whether or not they medaled. The fact that they came through, they stepped up, and they performed at the best of their abilities, and they made our presence be felt. They made us leave our mark.
Right.
We're forever grateful for all that they do, and we understand how hard it is for athletes to go out sometimes and aim for these goals and not know where funding and that type of stuff may come from, and we're out there trying our absolute best to ensure that we continue to be a big part of sport and the development of sport in this country. It's always phenomenal to be able to participate in these types of games, and we just continue to look forward to being able to put Cayman on the map and ensuring people know and feel our presence wherever we go, whatever sport it may be.
Awesomeness. Thank you guys so much for coming
on the show.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate you.
And
I appreciate all that you're doing, and I love when you send me stuff, so don't ever shy away from that. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to touch on a few bulletins. There's so much going on in Cayman right now. Not necessarily in Cayman, but our athletes are abroad. There's football and rugby is going off tomorrow. And then
swimming is
at CC Can. And then we had Leighton Thomas, who recently signed a professional contract. Oh, that's awesome. So I'm going to talk about all of that when we get back. Thank you again for stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Sports Extra in a minute.
For the month of July, the Needs Assessment Unit will hold their district visits as follows. Friday, 15th July, the Needs Assessment Unit will be in Bordentown from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Bordentown Public Library. And on Friday, 22nd July, NAU will hold a district visit in West Bay from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the West Bay Public Library.
Ray, are we ready for the next You Are Saying?
Yep, this time the topic is Duppies.
Duppies.
Yeah, that's Ghost to You tourists.
What's your Duppies?
I never believed them, but I have a Duppy story. So if you tune in, you can hear my story and you can call in and tell me your Duppy stories, because we know there's people out there that got Duppy stories that afraid to talk about it. So call in and tell us your Duppy story.
Duppies on the next You Are Saying.
Next You Are Saying. Boy, stop touching me. I'm real. I just clear skin like this. I know I need to get some sun.
You look like a Duppy. So, Friday the 15th.
Friday the 15th. Join us for Siwa Saying Duppies.
Siwa Saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the Record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the Record.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
All right, welcome back to Radio Cayman Sports Extra. I wanted to have the last 10 minutes of just highlighting all the different sports and the different activities and the different events that are happening, not just on island, but off island. But first, I want to congratulate Cayman Islands striker Leighton Thomas. Mr. Thomas entered the Professional Southern Football League, and that's excellent. The Future Sports Club, he's from the Future Sports Club, and national player, came from the Northern Conference League, where he won the Golden Boot Award last season for being the top scorer with 31 goals in 33 games. That's amazing. And I think, and based on what I've heard, no other Caymanian player has played at that level, at this level. If you have, and you know of someone who have, please feel free to give me a call. But as far as we've heard, this is the only Caymanian player that has reached this level, this high level in the Southern Football League. So Thomas is signed to Hungerford Football Club in England. Congratulations to him. And stay tuned for an interview with him tomorrow. I'll be speaking with Leighton tomorrow, so you'll hear from him in our local sports report. Academy Sports Club took 4 teams to Minnesota for the Target USA Cup Soccer Cup, tournament this week. The under-15 boys, under-17 girls, under-19 boys. Let me repeat that. The under-15 boys, under-17 girls and boys, and under-19 boys. Right? So they're going to have the greatest soccer experience of their lives, which began today through the 16th. And this takes place at the National Sports Center 860-acre campus. And Cayman has 101 players with 6 teams and 6 coaches at these games. The Academy under 13 division had their first match today, and they lost to Wyoming 4-0. And I have to get the results for the under 10 because they also played today as well. But I didn't get in time because I had the show. So I'm going to hear from them later tonight, and I'll give you guys that result tomorrow. Okay, so the USA Cup is the largest youth soccer tournament in North America, and it's hosting 1,200 teams from all over the world, including, of course, the Cayman Islands. All right, so we're looking forward to hear more from these teams, these 4 teams that represented Cayman from the Academy Sports Club. This tournament ends on the 16th. The Mustang Track Club's Rachel Pascal placed 4th and Brianna Smith 6th in the 17 to 18 javelin, and Brendan Foley finished in 6th place in the boys' 14-year age group in shot put events at the AAU Primary and Club Championships. This took place at the Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, Florida, and the tournament ends on July 16th. So we haven't received any medals yet, but we are chipping away at it, and we're doing quite well. Congrats to Rachel and Brianna and Brandon for competing and doing their best. I'm sure they gave it their all. They're there with Coach Tyrone Yen. So I know that he's going to instill and make sure these kids are doing their best. Team Cayman, as you've heard previously, maybe I can skip this one simply because we just had them on the show, where we grabbed gold and silver at the Caribbean and Central American Championships, right, in Barbados. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's get to this. Team Cayman grabs gold and silver at the Caribbean and Central American Championships in Barbados this week. Sierra Broadbelt wins gold, right? So she won gold in the 50-meter butterfly in the 13 to 14 girls division. This is CCCAN, and this is where they are now. So I was confusing that with the Caribbean Games previously, but this is CCCAN. So she won gold in the 50-meter butterfly in the 13 to 14 girls division. Awesomeness. And Dominique Hilton grabbed silver in the 13 to 14 boys 100-meter breaststroke. So it's a huge meet with really tough racing for Cayman swimmers. The CIASA president, Stephen Broadbelt, says Mexico, Puerto Rico, Panama, Venezuela, Guatemala, they're all pushing Cayman to the limit. So the fact that we're getting all these medals, this is awesome. It's a 14-member strong swim team selected to represent the Cayman Islands at the CCCAN. It's a swimming and open water championships, as you heard Louis previously saying that he's never heard of the open water category. So it's all of that. And it is swimming. So now we have the boys under 19 and senior women's rugby sides who are heading to Jamaica this week for the Rugby Americas North or RAN 2020 Regional Championships, and that's going to be held in Kingston, Jamaica. So the Cayman women will be competing in the first ever 12-a-side in the region, and the women leave on Thursday. Having increased this year from the 10s format that have been played in recent years, the Women's 12s tournament remains an important development tool for the women's game and a pathway, of course, to the introduction of senior women's 15-side or international competition around the region. The men, however, they'll be competing in the 15-side, and they'll be attending the same RAN Super Week Regional Championships in Kingston. It's the 18th year running in the men's under-19 tournament. Mexico, USA South Panthers, Trinidad and Tobago, Bermuda, Jamaica, and of course Cayman will be competing in that tournament. It starts on the 14th through the 15th. Teams will be playing 2 40-minute games. They leave tomorrow morning, okay? It's a 4-day event which will be held at the University of the West Indies and marks the first time it's being held since 2019 in Bridgetown, Barbados due to COVID-19. All right. And then we had an unforgettable experience as Cayman under 12 or 12 and under baseball team competed at the first Babe Ruth Caribbean Championships, which was held in Bahamas this weekend. So that was exciting because Cayman faced some much bigger opponents in age and size so far in this tournament, as you know, of course, the red, blue and white team, we're sort of rebuilding, right? So however, the scores simply did not reflect the games. In their opening match, Cayman lost to Bahamas 20-0 on Thursday. They also lost to Aruba 12-0 in the early afternoon match on Friday, and later that evening they fought a hard fight against Puerto Rico. Still lost, but they were really good. 9-4 was the score in that exciting matchup. In their final match against Cuba, it was 10-0. All right, so that was pretty exciting. Countries from Aruba, Cuba, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and Cayman took part. So I have 1 minute. The National Basketball Women's League will see new championships this year. So Women of Valor, Logic, dethroned the defending champions, Women of Valor, Rawlinson and Hunter, in an intense battle on Sunday night. The younger squad will now face last year's second-place team, Infinity A. All right, so Infinity A defeated their B team in an exciting matchup on the weekend. They will go up against Women of Valor Logic for the Women's SEBA final on Sunday. That's this Sunday, July 17th at 3 p.m. in a best-of-3 series. In the men's division, on a flip side from the women, it's a 2020 rematch. Jerome Narcisse and the Warriors swept the Silver Bullets last Monday to return to the championship final. The defending champions will face off against Davion Cottrell and the IRG Astros in a best-of-3 series this Sunday. So Astros defeated MPS Tronics in a nail-biting double header. So it was a double overtime finish in front of a packed home crowd at the John Gray Gym. So basketball this Sunday starting at 3 o'clock, Women of Valor Logic versus Infinity A. Then that will follow by a rematch of the men's final, of last year's men's final, which is Warriors versus IRG Astros. So that's it for tonight. That's it for Radio Cayman's local sports, not sports, I said local sports. Okay, so it's not local sports. That's it for Radio Cayman Sports Extra. And if you would like the opportunity to be featured on our show, or if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, sportsextracayman@gmail.com. You can also check out our Radio Cayman Sports Extra page to keep abreast of all sporting activities. I'm Dion Anglin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night and God bless. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at Radio Cayman Sports Extra.
You know, as a coach, I thoroughly agree. The athlete has just qualified for the World Championship on the biggest stage in the fire. The guys we've been training for the last 5 months now, so it's there, and they're all highest spirit that they can do well.
It was really infectious. I mean, for a 4-day meet with 2 sessions each day, that's pretty exhausting, and these kids were just rocking for a whole week.